Imagine just one single historical period that didn't just, influence, but fundamentally shaped pretty much everything we know about modern Western society.
Everything.
Our art, our economics, politics, even how we think. It's all rooted right back there.
Mm-hmm.
But, how do you really understand something that huge, that complex?
Yeah.
And who could possibly guide us through all those intricate threads?
That is the core challenge, isn't it? To really grasp a shift like that, you need more than just facts. You need a master guide, someone who can, connect those seemingly separate threads of history into one coherent, compelling story.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why today we're doing a deep dive into Will Durant's, seminal work, The Renaissance.
A huge undertaking.
It really is. This is volume 5 of his Pulitzer-winning Story of Civilization series.
Mm-hmm.
It covers the Italian Renaissance from, 1304 to 1576?
That's right. Centuries that you could argue literally birthed the modern world.
And Durant himself, a renowned American historian, philosopher, celebrated for writing that's actually accessible, but also shows this just vast knowledge. It gives the work immediate authority, right?
It does. And for this unique look today, you should know you're experiencing a two-host conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM. It allows for a deeper, maybe more dynamic analysis of the book.
Yeah, that structure lets us really get into not just what Durant's saying, but how he's building his case, how he invites you, the listener, into this incredibly vibrant moment in history.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today is to explore exactly how Durant, this master storyteller, this analyst, rhetorically crafts his narrative. It's not just recounting events.
No, not at all.
It's about showing how this period reshaped the West, maybe challenging some common myths and bringing figures like Petrarch, Boccaccio, Leonardo, Michelangelo, even Machiavelli, bringing them vividly to life.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe setting the stage, understanding the book itself?
Good idea. Let's start right there. How does Durant establish his authority, his credibility?
Well, to understand Durant's impact, you first have to appreciate his ethos. That's that sense of inherent trustworthiness he brings. He wasn't just another historian.
Right.
He already had a Pulitzer. Later, he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But even beyond the awards, The Renaissance was the 5th volume in his already famous Story of Civilization.
Okay.
So that established him as a synthesist, someone known for connecting vast periods, different disciplines, things that seem unrelated, into one grand, understandable narrative. You pick up this book, and you basically trust you're in good hands.
So he arrived with this, built-in authority, almost saying, look, trust me on this journey.
Exactly.
That must have been incredibly powerful for someone reading it back in 1953 when it first came out.
Yeah.
What was the world like then? Why was this book important at that moment?
Oh, that's a crucial detail. 1953. That's right after World War II.
Okay.
There was this really profound global reflection happening. A re-examination of Western roots, a search for meaning,
Yeah, I can imagine.
This created a clear exigence, like an urgent need to understand the foundations of modern Western society. And Durant steps right into that moment. He frames the Italian Renaissance not just as some dusty revival of old ideas,
Right.
but as this complex transformation that fundamentally shaped the modern era. He was offering context for the challenges of his own time.
So he's speaking to an audience really grappling with the identity of the West, looking back to figure out where they came from. Was he writing just for academics then? Or was it broader? Could someone like me dive into this?
Oh, absolutely broader. He was definitely addressing a general but intellectually curious readership. His goal was accessibility, yes, but crucially, without sacrificing the rich detail or the nuanced interpretation.
Okay.
He writes, for anyone interested in how civilization evolves, art, philosophy, culture, it fits perfectly with the whole ambitious scope of his Story of Civilization series. He wants you to feel informed, yeah, but also completely engrossed, like you're discovering these connections right alongside him.
And what about his overall purpose with this specific volume? What was he really trying to nail down?
His purpose was basically twofold: inform and engage. He wanted to give readers this sweeping yet detailed picture of the Italian Renaissance.
Okay.
But he wasn't just, listing dates and names. He aimed to demonstrate how this period radically reshaped the West by focusing on the interplay between economics, politics, humanism, and the arts.
Interplay, how so?
Well, for instance, he challenges that common myth that the Renaissance was purely secular. He shows how deeply tied the artistic explosion actually was to the spiritual life of the time.
Interesting.
And he meticulously shows how financial innovations, think of the Medici banking empire, directly led to the patronage that, well, birthed masterpieces.
Connecting the money to the art.
Exactly. The subject is the Italian Renaissance itself, obviously, but he digs into its philosophy, art, science, religion, politics, looking at key figures, but also how material forces and spiritual creativity interacted.
And he does all this with a very distinct tone, right? I've heard him describe.
He certainly does. Reviewers often called Durant's tone Olympian and composed.
Olympian.
Yeah, like detached, wise, seeing the big picture. It's marked by wit, deep learning, but also this powerful sense of restraint. You find subtle humor, a bit of irony maybe, and the prose is rich, but always serene.
Even when talking about chaos.
Even when discussing, tumultuous events or really flamboyant characters, he keeps this calm authority. He offers judgments, sure, but he avoids polemic in it. He's not aggressively attacking ideas. He wants you to consider the evidence with him, not feel lectured at.
Okay, that paints a really clear picture of the foundation, a great overview. Now let's really unpack how Durant achieves this. How does he actually put his rhetorical toolkit into action? Building that trust, evoking emotion, constructing such a powerful case.
All right, let's get into the how. It really starts with how he continually reinforces his ethos, that credibility throughout the book. It's not just his reputation coming in. No, it's the meticulous craftsmanship on every single page. He's constantly referencing specific artists, texts, political events, pulling direct quotes. This showcases both an incredible breadth of knowledge and really precise specificity in his evidence.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Like when he discusses Leonardo da Vinci, he doesn't just list accomplishments. He pulls from Leonardo's own notebooks, contemporary accounts, even the details of the commissions themselves. He positions himself as both your guide and your interpreter. And he'll challenge misconceptions. Think about Machiavelli, often seen as purely cynical, right?
Right. Yeah.
Durant complicates that. He delves into Machiavelli's letters, the actual political realities of Florence at the time. He invites you into that historical conversation, but without ever sounding like he's lecturing.
He also manages to really pull you into that world emotionally, which, let's face it, can be tough for a history book. How does he evoke that sense of time and place, that pathos?
He uses incredibly evocative imagery. He makes cities like Florence or Rome, famous artworks, even the personalities of the time, he makes them emerge vibrantly from the page.
Like you can see them.
Exactly. Think of his descriptions of Michelangelo chipping away at marble or the hustle and bustle of a Florentine market. He makes it feel present. Durant's writing draws you into the very fabric of Renaissance life. You feel the joy and the misery, the faith and the doubt, the grandeur. Yeah, but also the squalor.
How does he do that?
Through colorful anecdotes and that occasional subtle irony we talked about. He uses what he calls the pageant motif, which makes history feel dynamic, alive, like you're watching it unfold right there. He'll describe a feast or a plague and you're just transported. You're not just being informed.
That vivid storytelling really makes it feel alive, like you said, like you're right there. Okay, but underneath all that artistry, what's the logical foundation? How does he build his arguments? What about his use of evidence, his logos?
His use of evidence is simply abundant, just tons of it. He marshals extensive facts, quotations, references, and crucially, he provides very clear logical links between developments that might seem separate.
Like what?
Okay, for example, he meticulously connects the rise of powerful banking families, the Medicis are the classic example, or even specific international trade routes, to the astonishing flourishing of arts and scientific inquiry. He shows you the causal chain.
Right.
How wealth from commerce enabled patronage, which then funded the masterpieces we still marvel at. He structures his arguments logically, moving between big trends and striking details, and then back again. It builds this really robust intellectual framework showing why things happen, not just what happened.
And a remarkable balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Giving you the grand sweep, but also those intimate details.
Yeah.
And his writing style itself, that's going to be a huge part of his rhetorical toolkit. What about his word choice, sentence structure, figurative language?
Oh, absolutely. His language is elegant, often quite poetic, yet it's always remarkably accessible. He uses vivid metaphors like calling history a river of endless change, and frequently uses classical allusions that really deepen the intellectual resonance without being showy.
And the wit.
Yes, the wit is restrained, but it can also be, well, mordant at times, sharply critical or sarcastic. It adds layers of meaning without ever feeling heavy-handed. He might describe a ruler's mistake with this dry, understated comment that makes you chuckle, but also highlights a serious historical lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And syntactically, his sentences vary a lot in length. This creates both a sense of grandeur and real momentum. You'll find lots of similes, analogies, references to classical literature and history that continually enrich the narrative, making it feel deeply learned but never, ever pedantic.
He's truly a master weaver of words. Okay, so how does he organize all this vast amount of information at such a complex time? Are there specific strategies he uses to present it all coherently?
Well, his overall organization is mostly chronological, but he cleverly breaks it down into thematic sections. He might focus on specific cities or powerful families or key individuals. This allows for these mini deep dives, these digressions for deeper analysis within the flow.
Oh.
And what's really fascinating is his consistent use of parallels and contrasts. He'll juxtapose, say, classical paganism with Catholic doctrine, or artistic freedom versus church patronage, or the economic dynamism against the political instability.
Why do that?
To highlight the inherent complexities and tensions of the era, he powerfully contrasts the sheer splendor of Italian art with what he calls the earthy irreverence and the very material roots of its culture. This isn't just style. This juxtaposition gives you a much richer, more nuanced picture than a simple linear story ever could. It shows how these apparently opposing forces actually coexisted and often fueled each other during the Renaissance.
You know, this level of analysis, really digging into how an author constructs meaning, reveals these deeper connections. It's exactly what we aim for on our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments.
Right.
We offer AI book analysis that's designed to inspire reflection and rational thought, pretty much like what we're doing right now. It's about getting beyond just reading, to really understanding how a work impacts you, how it helps you think correctly.
And how it really invites you to think critically about the world, about the information you consume, maybe see those interconnected threads everywhere.
Exactly. So let's bring it all together then. How effective is Durant in achieving his purpose? Does he really succeed in painting that dynamic, nuanced portrait of the Renaissance? And crucially, does he make it accessible for you, the reader?
Oh, I think he absolutely succeeds. Durant paints this incredibly dynamic and nuanced portrait. He synthesizes art, philosophy, economics, religion into a unified narrative in a way very few others have managed. He effectively demystifies common myths. For instance, showing how religious devotion back then coexisted with and even inspired its artistic and intellectual freedom. They weren't always opposed.
That's a key point.
It is. He offers fresh perspectives on both major figures and lesser-known ones, making a really strong case for why this period is so central to the Western tradition. And the prose, it's lively enough for a general reader, definitely, but it's also detailed and intelligent enough for a more scholarly audience. He strikes that perfect balance between narrative vividness and analytical rigor.
What about the critique that his composed tone might limit the emotional impact?
Yeah, some have noted that his composure might maybe limit full emotional immersion sometimes, but I'd argue that very restraint also lends him incredible authority. It allows the complex historical details to really sink in, you know? It encourages thought over pure feeling.
And what about the logical consistency? Is the narrative coherent? Does he maintain a fair perspective throughout?
The book's structure is remarkably coherent, yes. And his use of facts, his logical development, it's exceptionally strong. Now, given the huge scope, he occasionally has to make necessary digressions or streamline complex events for clarity.
Sure, you'd have to.
Right, it's a constraint of covering so much ground. But he never really oversimplifies, and ethically, Durant's tone is consistently fair. It's moderate. He shows this clear self-awareness about his own limitations as a historian. He avoids inflammatory judgments. He really promotes nuanced understanding over taking sides. He respects the complexity of the past, allowing you, the reader, to draw your own informed conclusions.
It sounds like his rhetorical skill, then, truly invites the reader into a profound experience of the past, not just a recitation of facts. So what would you say is the lasting legacy of this book, thanks to that specific approach?
I think its lasting legacy is profound, really. Through that elegant prose, the robust evidence, and that Olympian narrative perspective we talked about, Will Durant's The Renaissance invites readers to experience the Italian Renaissance not just as a sequence of events, but as this multifaceted transformation of Western culture. His synthesis effectively unites the economic, artistic, philosophical forces that shaped that age. He uses wit and clarity to challenge myths and really illuminate the period's lasting impact. It's a work that keeps resonating because it shows us how history itself is this vibrant, interconnected story, always offering lessons for our own time.
That leads to a final thought then. Thinking about Durant's analysis, especially how he emphasizes those cyclical patterns of progress and decline throughout history,
Yeah.
how might our understanding of progress and decline today be shaped by the patterns he highlights back in the Renaissance? It's a question that definitely keeps echoing, doesn't it?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we're just, replaying variations on these ancient themes and what we can actually learn from those past cycles. A lot to think about.
Definitely. For more deep dives into fascinating books and critical thinking like this, remember to check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. And of course, listen to our podcasts. We're here to help you continue your journey of intellectual discovery.
Keep exploring.
To go even deeper into this specific book, The Renaissance, click the link you see on screen for the in-depth book summary. And please don't forget to subscribe, share this discussion with others who might find it interesting, and if you're inspired to tackle Durant's work yourself, you can purchase the book via the link provided.
And most importantly,
Yes, most importantly, keep thinking critically about all the information you encounter.